Hey, we're cooking with gas here on the Jewcast.
Okay, careful using a phrase like that.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
Tradition!
Oh, shut up, Carl! Shut your goddamn Jew mouth! You people are why there's war in the Middle East!
Gekackt von Jan.
Nebbig.
Ver poo-poo-poo.
Vermischt.
Verkackt.
Vertutzt.
Verstonken.
Farted.
Exactly.
You're what Grammy Hall would call a real Jew.
Hey, everybody, get off your other Zoom and listen to this podcast because it's time for another exciting episode of American Jew.
Hooray! Episode 62 coming at you.
Jonathan Randall here.
I am Jordon Ferber, and we are excited to, let our voices out of the house today.
Yes, hopefully into other people's ears, Jews and non-Jews alike.
Indeed.
We need more Jewish awareness now more than ever because as the special Trump administration envoy to anti-Semitism has said, there is a tsunami of anti-Semitism happening since the whole coronavirus. We talked about this a little bit, last week and the week before, how people want to blame the Jews for the virus, kind of like they did in the Middle Ages when they blamed the Jews for the Black Plague, for the bubonic plague. People always want to blame the Jews for stuff, but I think what's a little more concerning that's happening now is that what's going on in a lot of these anti-lockdown protests, which are filled, by the way, with white supremacists.
Yeah, it seems...
So, you got to be careful if you're at one of these anti-lockdown, rallies that it's almost like you're at a white supremacist
Apparently, rally. Apparently it's really hard to be a skinhead if you can't get your hair cut.
Oh, yes. Good one, Jordan. What's happening at a lot of these demonstrations is people are kind of invoking the Holocaust, using Nazi imagery to say, hey, what you guys are doing by not letting us go to work, by locking us down, by social distancing, by having shutdowns is similar to what the Nazis did. You're a Nazi. They're calling different governors Nazis. They're having swastikas. They're referring to them like they're like Hitler. And it's just crazy. The Holocaust and what's happening now, lockdown, are two completely separate things, and it's an insult to anyone that has relatives of the Holocaust, that survived the Holocaust, that actually just knows anything about the Holocaust, to say that they're anything alike.
It's insane.
It's insane, and it's just spreading the wrong message. I know there's one guy, he's a militia guy from Idaho, and he went and said that he thinks that the Jews, that it was their own fault what happened in the Holocaust because they were too complicit with what was going on, and he doesn't want to be complicit with what's going on with the shutdown because then he's going to be just like the victims of the Holocaust, which is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, he basically said that that Jews willingly lined up to be killed in the Holocaust, and we are not going to. His people are not going to do. We shouldn't do that same thing. That's his whole point. First of all, his name is Amnon, which is a Hebrew name.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a Hebrew name. It means faithful in Hebrew.
And his last name is Bundy, which is a psycho name. Trump is being supportive of all these anti-lockdown demonstrations, and he's kind of been encouraging.
Yeah, it's like it's his base that's doing this shit. It's
Yes, a lot of people are comparing it to when he said in Charlottesville that there are good people on both sides, referring to neo-Nazis. That he's kind of sending the same message this time.
Well, let's hope that we get another VE Day soon to celebrate.
Well, that's right. The May 8th in Europe and America and most of the world, and May 9th in Russia and in Israel is VE Day, which was Victory in Europe Day. So this year we will be celebrating 75 years since the unconditional surrender of the Germans to the Allied forces, which brought an end to the war, to World War II.
Yes, very exciting.
So that's a good thing.
Yes.
So, I know how this Bundy guy, he was saying how, the Jews were letting it happen. I just, I want people to know this, that over 1.5 million Jews fought on behalf of the Allied forces from all different countries, more than 1.5 million Jews, and about 250,000 of those Jews gave their lives. So I think it's important to mention this because, people always talk about the 6 million Jews that died in the Holocaust, but people aren't so aware to speak about the people that there were Jews that also actually fought for the well-being of Jewish people. They fought against the Germans, and there were Jews that gave their lives in that respect too.
Yeah, so we celebrate those people today that helped bring an end to the atrocities.
Yes, 75 years is a long time. We've mentioned this before, how survivors, they're starting to pass away, and we really got to keep the memory alive to stop, anti-Semites like the Bundy guy or these other people protesting, at places in Chicago, in Idaho, in Michigan that are, accusing even Jewish politicians of being Nazis because they're in support of stay at home and they want people to stay safe. That's all they're trying to do.
It's totally
keep
insane.
People safe.
Well, I can't think of a better way to bring a guest in. Help us.
Yes, we're having our first couple.
Yeah, we got a couple today.
Show. We want to introduce our guests onto the show.
Yeah.
Comedian, podcaster, Danny Lobell.
Hello.
And we got his lovely wife with us too.
How are you?
Kylie Lobell.
How are you?
Who's been a great supporter of the show. We really appreciate that, and we're so happy to have you guys on. So we got some questions that we want to ask you guys. Kylie, from what I understand, you converted to Judaism.
Yes, that is correct.
When did you convert? How old were you?
I was, it was in 2015, so how old am I now? Let's see, 26. It was right before our wedding.
So did you convert for marriage?
No.
She converted against marriage.
Danny didn't want me to convert Orthodox, but I did it anyway and set us on a path to...
Not agreeing on stuff.
So why did you decide why was that important to you to convert?
So I'd always dated Jewish boys. None of them were ever
Can I take this one? She always had a passionate disdain for Jesus Christ.
I mean, he was a Jew. She might have
Didn't
dated
like
him
his
if he was
facial
around.
hair. Didn't like his whole lovey-dovey thing. I don't know what this guy is talking about.
She liked the tough love more.
Yeah.
Then she got very into Muhammad for a minute.
He's cool.
But she found that kosher prices were higher than halal prices, and she thought it means more expensive must mean it's better quality. And, all right, you can answer it for real.
Okay. So I'd always dated Jewish boys, but they weren't religious, so they didn't really care. I got called the S word a lot, which I didn't like.
Shiksa.
And then I met Danny, and he had an Orthodox past, and he kind of went off the path. And then we were both broke, living in Brooklyn, and one night he said, "Do you want to go to this free dinner? It's free Friday night dinner." Like, I don't know what that means, but okay, we're broke. And then I ended up loving it. It was at Chabad, which, is an organization that brings Jews back to Judaism, and I kind of just fell in love with it from there. That started me on my path.
Okay, so, how involved are you right now with Judaism?
I'd say I don't love the label Orthodox, so I'd say we're more traditional. We do Shabbat, we do kosher, we do the holidays, I cover my hair in public, so yeah.
Okay, so you're pretty serious.
Pretty into it.
So Danny, we know that you were brought up Orthodox, and then you kind of strayed from the path, and then apparently your newly Jewish wife got you back more into it.
Let me answer that for him.
I had really grown disdainful of religion in general. I had become very anti-religious. People like to say I'm against organized religion because it's got an extra word in there. And it sounds like you know what you're talking about a little more because, first of all, people don't like organized stuff, especially in the art world. We like disorganized stuff. But also, I felt like, I don't know how to answer this succinctly, but I just felt that I felt religion was hypocritical, pushy, almost selling snake oil to people. I didn't like that it seemed to exert control over people's lives. So I'd sort of become very anti-religious.
Yeah, but you also got kicked out of yeshiva.
Yes, I was kicked out of.
You became a comedian.
Becoming a comedian is maybe one of the most Jewish things somebody can do.
Yeah.
I was kicked out. I was a class clown, and they kicked me out of the yeshiva. I went to public school. And I remember when I got there, I thought it was like a utopia. Like, all of a sudden, I had these things I didn't have in yeshiva, like a really nice art room. Also, I was in Long Beach High School, which was like, I don't know if the building's still there, but it overlooked the bay. I always thought it was like a beachside resort, and it was public school. But like all the classes, like on one side of the building, you look out the window, you're literally looking into the water.
Wow. And
there was no, I wound up with the most beautiful girl of all, but there were so many hot girls at the public school. I was going crazy. So, I mean, I'd never, in yeshiva, it's not the same thing.
No, absolutely. It's totally understandable how you would stray from the flock, but I'm curious about how she brought you back.
It's kind of funny that he strayed from yeshiva for the pussy and he came back for the pussy also.
It sounds so romantic when you say it like that, Jordan.
Isn't that what all men pretty much operate on?
I guess.
Well, no, I came back kicking and screaming. I didn't come back easily to it. I'm really happy in the end that I did come back. You build the most muscle when you're doing resistance training, right? And I kind of did that. I built a lot of spiritual muscle because I was resistant to coming back to it. I really challenged the rabbi. I remember when Kylie started going to these conversion classes against my will. I went there and I thought, I'm just going to blow the whole thing up. I'm just going to go there and scream at the rabbi, and he's going to be like, holy crap, this guy's nuts. I want nothing to do with him. And
I'm going to troll this conversion class.
Yeah, I just thought I'd get it. I did. Yeah, I thought I'd get us kicked out, and then we could go back to our normal life. I made a big show of it. And the rabbi couldn't have been nicer. I was like, oh, damn, I didn't anticipate that. I realized that a lot of my anger against Judaism was just personal resentment that I was putting towards that.
How do you guys think Judaism affects your marriage?
Terribly.
Oh,
terribly.
It's been a nightmare.
I mean, it's great. It's the best thing because we never.
Right. Great.
So many times before we were married, even we would be fighting throughout the week, and then we're like, let's just have a peaceful Shabbat and not fight, and that kind of reset things.
I think it holds the marriage together in many ways because, first of all, it's good to do stuff together. It's good to be in on something together, whatever that thing is. Like if you guys have a shared hobby or whatever the thing is that bonds you. It's like I know one couple. They love to yell at their kids, and that bonds them together. Now, I don't know if that's the healthiest thing to bond over, but it keeps them together, I feel like. I think Judaism is really good. It enriches your life in many ways. It's great to do holidays together. Shabbat is a weekly holiday, Imagine just having a holiday every week with somebody you love. That's pretty great. Shabbat is like a marriage saver, I feel like. I think if everybody did Shabbat, there'd be way less divorce in the world because you're basically quarantined for like a day. Not not an extreme quarantine like this where you're like, I can't stand it anymore. But when the world is a busy place again and you have one day a week to silence it all, turn off your phones, shut out the stupid social media stuff and all the noise that you don't even know how it affects you. But actually just focus on the person you love and spend time with them. And, sometimes we'll be curled up on the couch on Shabbat and Kylie's we'll be reading. I'm like, read it to me out loud. She'll read an article to me. I always love that. I love being read to.
Okay, so it's there's less distractions and you find it's more of a time that you guys can really share together.
Yeah.
That's really nice. I mean, is Kylie more the driving force in Judaism now, do you think, Danny, or do you think it's you?
It's probably equal now. She was the one who was able to sort of get it kicked off because I had so much baggage and she didn't. She was able to see it for the beautiful religion that it was, whereas I was layering all these other things on top of it, right? Mm. But once I was able to sort of get rid of all that stuff, And I was like, oh, wow, Judaism's amazing. Like, I almost gave this up. I almost lost this in my life. And then I became super enthused about it. And now I'd say it's about equal, and we really love it. You know, we love engaging with it. Kylie loves your guys' podcast. She's always playing it. Like, it's an amazing, rich tradition. There's so much to study. There's so much to learn. It's a living history, you know?
Yeah.
As we wrap up, I want to ask you guys, you know, Danny, as someone who was, you know, was brought up religious, then left, and then came back, what would you want people to know about Judaism? Like one thing, or how, like, what would you sum up Judaism to somebody? And Kylie, you as someone who wasn't Jewish then converted, what would you say to people?
Can I go first, Kylie?
So you have time to think?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to sell the religion as a whole. I can really sell certain things like Shabbat, for instance, what Danny said, in this crazy world, just to have time to refocus and be with nature and read books and be with your family. I think that's very important and something we're missing, and it's something that kind of came back in the quarantine. People are realizing that they need to just like turn off their devices and chill out with their family. And I can sell kosher. I believe it's less cruel to the animals, that they go through a quick and painless death.
God talks about the soul of every creature lives in its blood. And that's why you're not supposed to consume the blood of another creature, because you're actually infusing some part of their soul into you. To think, you know, the soul lives in the blood. You can't eat meat unless the animal is dead. And you can't milk a dead animal. So milk represents life, and meat represents death. And we don't mix life and death. You don't put milk and meat together. Life is for the living, and that's the message of Judaism. It's to live life, enjoy life, and make the most of your life and your time here in this world.
Well, that is a really nice message for Judaism. I definitely agree. And we're so glad that you guys came on the show, and we hope you'll come back again. So, Danny, you have anything you want to plug?
Of course.
I have comic books that I make, autobiographical. It's called Fair Enough, is my comic book series. And the website is fairenoughcomic.com. My podcast is Modern Day Philosophers on iTunes.
All right.
Thanks, guys. L'chaim.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming on the show. And thank you guys for listening to the show. It always warms our hearts. You can follow us on all social media platforms at American Jew Podcast, except on Twitter, we are American Jew Pod. You can find me on Instagram at Beatnik Nudnik.
I had Jonathan Randall on everything in social media.
Love you guys. And obviously, we're always worth repeating again. L'chaim.
L'chaim.